And welcome everybody. It's Peter du Toit with Tsepo Masilela, Kaizer Chiefs legend and good friend of mine. And we're talking Kaizer Chiefs. And today's show, Chiefs fans out there, is a very, very important show in our opinion. And we want to involve you in this show. The majority of you watching haven't subscribed, guys. Please subscribe. It's very important for us from a YouTube point of view. Chiefs fans out there, you've all been watching and following the news on the Kaizer Chiefs preseason tour of the Netherlands. And we want to focus on a very important part of this tour. The biggest problem with Kaizer Chiefs last season, according to Nabi and to most of the fans, was that striker position. Chiefs need somebody who can score between 10 and 15 goals a season. We all know that. And the big question is Flavio Silva the man that's going to deliver on that? That's the big question. Now, obviously, Tsepo has been in many, many preseason tours. So have I, but mine's so long ago I can hardly remember. People say, and this show's come out before tonight's game, the Tuesday night game, 2 games to go. But so far, and I'm not talking about the whole performance, we're going to talk about Silva. But people may say, listen, preseason doesn't count. But Tsepo will tell you, as much as it doesn't count, it does count. I mean, Tsepo, how important is preseason, first of all? And in particular, looking at the striker position.
No, preseason, Peter, is very important for everyone involved, not just the strikers. And listen, if you want to have a solid season individually as a player, you need to work hard during the preseason camp. That's where you load the fuel, to take you all the way. So it's very important. And also for the striker, I know it's new, we don't want to be hard on the guy because it's just joined the team and it's new environment, new teammates, new everything is new to him, and he's gonna be coming into a new league. But also it's important, that first impression, to have that first impression, especially also to the fans, to give everyone confidence coming back home. We know that we've got someone that we can count on. Because if you don't start well, also in preseason, it already gives that negative, impact to the people. So once you play one bad game in the league, they say, but what did you expect? We've seen enough during preseason. This guy's not going to help us. So also for the confidence of the team, you need to get the results here and there. I know it's preseason, it's friendlies, but also the team, you don't want to go there and lose all your games. It's also a bad impression. You leave a bad taste, So it's very important.
So, Tsepo, you know, I mean, I've been a striker, you've been a defender. Us strikers know and defenders know that people, when you join the club, everybody's looking, will he get the goals for us? And players make decisions very quickly in training. They go, not good enough, good enough. Our worry is firstly that the other players are going, not what we expected, but obviously that can change in a game if he scores goals. But why the signing of the striker is so important is Nabi has made it clear that that's the problem area. And this season coming for Kaizer Chiefs is the must. There's no excuses for no success for this season. This is Nabi's second season. Everybody's expecting success. And the question is, what is success for Chiefs next season? No one's expecting Chiefs to win the league, but the fans, quite rightly so, and the club are expecting this team to deliver a challenge for second spot. And if not second spot, get a top 3-4 position. I mean, that's I should think is a bare minimum for a top team like Kaizer Chiefs, and obviously a good cup run. Now, the question, Tsepo, is based on what we've seen so far from an attacking point of view, because that's where Nabi says the big problem is the goal scorer, and in particular talking about Silva, does this team look like they definitely will come in a top 4 position? The answer to that has got to be no, as yet, but obviously the league could change that. But my view, and I'd like to discuss this with you, and I'd like the fans to come in on this in the comment section, is Chiefs shouldn't risk everything on Flavio Silva being a success. Chiefs need to sign another striker, as you mentioned in the show when you spoke about goalkeepers with Grant and Farouk. Chiefs need to sign another striker now, in my opinion, who will compete with Flavio and Dupree and Duba and Morris for that number 1 spot. Igodora, we haven't seen him yet. And the problem could be that there's this dispute whether he's still a Sundowns player because they've extended his contract. So let's take him out the mix for the time being. I'm also not sure if he's exactly the guy who would make a bigger difference. So let's talk about Silva just quickly. I'll give you what I'm concerned about is Silva. I'm concerned his first touch. the PSL, your first touch is going to be pretty good. I've watched him. He hasn't played in big leagues. The Indonesian league is a poor league. You don't see Indonesia playing in the World Cup. You don't hear about Indonesian football be right up there. You don't hear about Indonesian players playing in Europe. So it's not a big league. His first touch doesn't look too good. Yes, he closes down players, but I mean, that's a bare minimum you've got to do. And he presses, that's the bare minimum you've got to do. I'm also concerned that in the air, he's not bringing that, he doesn't challenge as strongly in the air against these Dutch players as I would have expected because he's a big guy. So I'm a little concerned with that. And his link-up play, I don't see him making himself available to get it to feet and bringing others into play. So not seeing that is a concern because it doesn't seem like a natural part of his game. And the striker for Chiefs, I think a big thing they're missing is someone who can challenge for those crosses that will come into the box. He should do because he's a big boy, and his YouTube shows that, but YouTube is very selective. Not going to show the ones he doesn't get. But it's in a league that has not been very good. Whereas our guys can, we've got decent centre backs here. I don't see his first touch, they didn't impress me. And you don't want to sign another Morris, who's not really a touch player. And his link-up player, I don't see him joining in. So just basically, let's just talk about him. What do you see as his strengths and weaknesses right in before we go into alternative?
I would agree, on most of the points that you've made. Also with the touch and link-up play. What I've seen, like he's a big striker. He's got those. He likes to move around. He's not playing like entirely close to the box. He can make runs, but he again, sometimes he can be busy, but the end product is not there, so it counts for nothing. Unless when he's got that understanding now with the number 10 or the winger that, him sometimes making those runs is creating spaces for the other attacking guys to join in and go finish, but as you said, his best touch is a worry. And really, I haven't seen much of it that I can say, he's a finisher in terms of, heading the ball, or he's strong in air-out duels. So there's a lot that we still yet to see, maybe, and I'm thinking they have one more game, I think, or a couple of games. So two more games. So hopefully, he's getting settled and is starting to, because again, some of the things they'll have to work on them on training, the understanding with the other attackers. But so far, nothing much to say. He's the savior.
So my point, Kaizer Chiefs fans out there, and what I'm trying to discuss with Tsepo is I'm not saying Flavio Silva is a flop and they must get rid of him. I'm saying he hasn't shown anything that makes us say, wow, this is the guy. And we must give him time, obviously, to be the guy. But this is such an important position. We believe, or I certainly believe, Chiefs need to sign another striker that is almost a no-risk striker, that they know this guy's going to hit the ground running. And I'll tell you a couple of other points, Tsepo, that concerns me about the player. His goal ratio, 65 goals in 219 games in mediocre leagues. That's one goal every 3.4 games. Not a great ratio. He had one great season, though, one great period of maybe a season and a half, 30 goals in 45 games, but thereafter 9 goals in 33 games with the bigger team. 29 years of age, no new tricks going to be coming from him. He's got to hit the ground running. But Daniel Mailula, ex-Chief striker, he quoted in kickoff. He says he's very impressed with the players' movement and the players' pressing, which is good. But what worries me, Tsepo, I've done a mental note here. Maybe you can help me, and fans out there, help me if I'm wrong. I've gone through Chiefs' record of signing strikers from overseas is very poor. If you look at, and I may have missed some, but if you look at, I can only find 3 and possibly 4 successes of foreign-based strikers versus, I think, 20 failures. And there may be more. So, Knowledge Musona is success. Collins Bubazuma is success. Nurkovic is success. So a one-season success. And Carter, I know a lot of fans would say not a success, but I think you'll agree from a player's point of view and winning things, he was a success. He's playing in a successful team. So let's say 3, probably be 4. Players would say 4, and I would say Carter's a success. But if you look at failures, you got 20 failures. So Chiefs are not good at signing, and the failures are, Saleh, Gonzalez, the recent ones, Chalwe, Torrealba did well elsewhere, bad at Chiefs, Paez, Musasa, Musanda, Ipayo, Aladu Malam, Katsviro, Abro, Lubanda, Kambole, Macha, Ricardo, Igbona, Luke Petrus, Mamele, Amido, Tony Ilodigwe, who I actually liked as a player at African Wanderers, but poor. That's 20 failures. I mean, that shows that for foreign players to come play in our league as strikers is, certainly for Chiefs, is not easy. And I think it's twofold. One, being that number 9 for Kaizer Chiefs is a big number to carry on your shoulders. The expectations are high, and I think players can't handle that. And number 2, I don't think Chiefs are maybe doing their recruitment well. Your quick comments before we look at possible solutions.
Yeah, when you compare the two, the misses have been they are way higher. The number is way higher than the success. So obviously it's a worrying one. But yeah, man, I don't know how they miss. How do they end up with having so many miss? Than the success. It's again, it's also the scouting. And also we have this thing in our league: who signed the player. Sometimes it's a question of maybe it was not the coach, or the management signed the player, and it becomes a clash somehow. But obviously I hope they get it right soon. But yeah, it's not balancing at all.
Tsepo, one of the things that maybe was that when Chiefs sign a foreign player, they've come into football heaven. I mean, it's a club with one of the biggest clubs in Africa, probably second or third biggest club in Africa after Lachlan and maybe Zamalek. Anyway, debatable in the top 3-4 clubs in South Africa. Africa. They're incredibly well paid. They're well looked after. They've got every facility, and maybe they feel they're in football heaven and they don't have to do anymore. But so Chiefs have got to look at obviously the mental commitment for some of these players. But the player that I don't understand why Chiefs have not had a serious look at is Percy Tau. I mean, Percy is a top pro. His record is exemplary. He's going to have the right attitude. He's played at big clubs. He knows what it is to play for Kaizer Chiefs. There'll be no adaptation. He's not a risk. He's 31, and I've heard two reasons why they don't want to sign him. One being that there was a bad experience with Dolly and Kama Billiard, and I don't think that's a reason not to sign Percy. Keegan Dolly is a player who played overseas, came back from overseas, and it was a big salary. But Keegan's not a player who can carry a team. Keegan's always been a player who's done well in a good team. So I don't think it was a good signing for Chiefs. Name, yes, but he wasn't somebody, he's a winger more than, and wingers are players who need the service to be able to create a service. Keegan was never somebody who's going to take the game by the scruff of his neck. He was not that kind of player. He wasn't a natural 10. They try to see him as a 10. His career has been a winger, a wide player. So I think the Keegan Dolly was signed as a 10, and he's never been a 10. He's a wide player. Kama Billiard, Kama had, let's call it, personal issues with his lifestyle while he was at Kaizer Chiefs. There's no problem with that with Percy Tau. So that comes out the mix. Then I'm not sure I read this. I'm not sure where I read this, but I definitely read it. I read so much on football. Percy Tau was interviewed on a radio show, I think, or a podcast. It'll come to me now. Anyway, it could have been on Marawa show. I speak under correction, or Smash. He was asked for him to come back in South Africa, what would he want to earn? And I don't think he specifically said, I want such and such from a company. He basically said $450 a month and a 2-year option. That's not ridiculously high wages compared to what people are earning at Sundowns. And I'm pretty certain a lot of players at Chiefs and Pirates are on close to that kind of money, and some even more. So I don't think that's outrageous. Then on another show, again, this may have been Smash or another, Bobby Motaung was asked this question relating to that. And he said, that's not our kind of players who talk money first. And I think that was a little unfair on Percy Tau, because Percy Tau was answering a question in the media, and Bobby was responding to a media question. And if they haven't sat down with Percy Tau, then the question would be, why not? Do you not think they should at least sit down with Percy Tau and his agent and go, let's work something out here? Because he's not an out-and-out 9, and I know he's not somebody who's going to win balls in the air, which obviously Nabi is looking for, but he's a 10 to 15 goals a season in the PSL, playing as a 10 or as a false 9, even wide. What would you, if you're Chiefs in charge of recruitment right now, would you not bring Percy Tau to the table for the club?
I would bring Percy Tau. I've said this before. When you speak of the numbers of the 450, that it was mentioned, it's normal, it's a normal thing for a player to, when he's asked and he wants to be honest. Percy is an honest guy, he's not gonna, and also he's not a 16, 17-year-old, that's gonna, he's a honest, he's a senior player, if he feels he deserves that, it's a starting point for negotiations that you want the guy and you already had the numbers, and if for Kaizer Chiefs, I would look at Percy Tau. I would look at Percy Tau. He also come in as a free. There's no transfer fee involved, so you're not gonna be spending like a 10, 20 millions there buying the player. So why not? But I don't know what's really the thinking behind, or them not wanting to engage with Percy, or maybe it doesn't fit the style of play of the coach. I'm not too sure, but if he's still available, and I would go for a Percy Tau kind of, as you said, the risks are low and he doesn't get that much injured. It's always available. So you want your top earners to be always available. You'd like to have those
Correct.
guys.
And Tsepo, he's going to want to fight hard for Bafana's place for the AFCON and the World Cup. So he wants to be in front of Hugo Broos. So you've got a player who's got a double motivation, his professional motivation and his Bafana motivation. So I think it's a no-brainer. Kaizer Chiefs fans out there, yes, he's old, but there's 2-3 seasons in the player without a doubt, and that's what you need. I think he would be a great example to the young players. He'd lift the professionals at the club. Let's look at another player who's 29 and he's had a lot of injuries. I don't know whether he's actually signed for Sundowns because there's been no mention of it. Lebo Mothiba. Now, let's just look at him. He fits that bracket of Nabi wanting a big striker who can hit the ball. He's played overseas all of his career. He came on and scored in the Club World Cup. He's obviously an experienced player. He also will want to show Hugo Broos in South Africa that he's good enough to play in AFCON and possibly the World Cup. He's a player, Chiefs I'm sure could make a kind of deal with him that, pay per play, a lower basic, and the more games you play. I think he's a very low risk other than an injury situation, and they could build that into the contract. He's been around, he knows his way around the box. He fits the kind of striker that I'd rather have him than Silva, personally, if he's injury free. I think, is that not a player that is that not somebody that you'd certainly sit down and have a discussion with? Unless he's, of course, already signed for Sundowns, which may well be the case, but there's been no mention.
The little that I saw, from the Club World Cup, and I think he played also in the finals of the Champions League in Africa. The little that I've seen, I'm convinced. He doesn't move like around like in spaces that he doesn't have to go to, like making round to the corner flags. He stays in and around. He's very smart. He knows how to attack a cross. You must look at it also, his goal previously, when he used to play in France. He knows how to attack a cross, and he knows how to score also. That's the important thing. A striker that knows how to finish.
Two things. He knows how to attack a cross. He knows how to attack the ball, which is a nightmare for defenders. He likes doing that. That is imperative. And most fans don't realize what Tsepo's saying. I promise you, you play a defender playing against a striker who loves to attack a ball like Nurkovic did. That's what causes havoc. And we saw what the goal he scored in the Club World Cup. Good finisher. So that's the player of Chiefs fans out there. Let us know in the comment section. Is this who the guy you want Chiefs to go for? Another player who I think could be available and would want to come back to South Africa again for World Cup and AFCON is Cassius Mailula. Yes, he's not an out-and-out, but he's like a Percy Tau kind of player. He can play wide, he can play 10, he can play 9. May not be a typical player for Nabi, but football's played on the ground, not in the air. I rate him very highly as a player. He's very intelligent. He did well at Wyatt. I'm surprised they didn't keep him, maybe because he was too much of a Rolani player, and they couldn't have too many foreigners, and they kept Lodge. Cassius,
I was listening to one of his interviews. He said, if he had to come back, his first, option or the team that would listen to his Sundowns. So that's interesting. And yeah, but I'm not too sure the situation with his parent team, like in Toronto. What's the story with his contract there, that side? But these are the players that you want in top teams. You know, you want to have a 4 or 5 of them. You know, a Mothiba, a Cassius, a Percy. It gives everyone that lift. You know, and you going to the games. Also, the opponents, they know you've got, you know, like serious, you know, star players. You know, players that are in the Bafana radar. You know, those are the players. If they are available for Kaizer Chiefs, I think those are the players that pushes them to the top 4 bracket. You know, in terms of chances getting there. You know, I think those players, they maximizes their chances of, you know, pushing them to. They've got the experience. He just played the Cup World Cup, and you know, he's played the Champions League with Sundowns. He's won the league. Percy Tau, another player that played the Club World Cup with Sundowns, with Al Ahly. You know, he's won leagues in South Africa, in Egypt. You know, those when you talk about quality, you know, players that are ready to push you to that bracket of top 4. I think these are the guys. The guy that you've mentioned, definitely these are the guys. Take nothing away from the players that are at Kaizer Chiefs. Yes, when you want to say you're improving your squad in quality, those are the players that you go and get.
Sip, I'm going to throw a few more names at you. Kaizer Mayo. They wanted him. They lost him. He could be lured back. Obviously, it costs money. Is he the kind of solution? A player I really like, Kaizer Chiefs, is not a striker, I know. He's an attacking midfielder, but he scores goals. I think he could do a great job as well. Lars Veldwijk is SA born. He's played for Bafana. He's 6'5". He's 33, but he knows his way around the box. A big boy. He scores goals. For one season, he could make a big difference. Then there's also Simon van Duvenboeden. He's 23, born in Durban. He said to Chiefs in the media, "Come and get me." He's played for Vitesse. We've seen how the Dutch players are in this tour. They've got quality. I believe he may have been on trial at Mailula. I'm not sure. But so Simon van Lars Veldwijk, Kaizer, and Kaizer. Just a quick, your thoughts there.
I like Kaizer. You know, he had a great season. I think he was one of the top, you know, in terms of assists in the league in the past season. You know, that shows you the threat that he's got in the final third. I like him. He's a tricky player. I like to go at defenders. And if I had to choose maybe one from the strikers, I've seen a bit of Lars. And I think with Stuart Baxter, he got a couple of collabs. And one thing about players in the AFCON in Egypt, and one thing about players that strikers that are developed in the Dutch league or in Holland, somehow that side they know how to develop a striker, you know, to become a finisher. You know, the striker. Look at Coach Benny McCarthy. You know, he spent time at Ajax Amsterdam, and you could never doubt his finishing abilities. Never mind the talent, it was there, you know, but how they worked on his finishing abilities. You know, one of the top strikers in the world. You know, I wouldn't mind getting one, and maybe I'll go for Lars because I've seen a bit of Lars, you know, and he's got the physique, the height also.
And he wants to come to South Africa. He tried to get, I think Sundowns were looking at signing him at one stage. I think they'd all do a good job. So, fans out there, let us know. Longer list there. But one thing's for certain. This season coming up for Kaizer Chiefs is not a season for failure. This season is for success. Success for Chiefs fans, guys out there, has to be challenging Pirates for second place. Let's leave the league for the season. Or not second place, certainly third or fourth place. And another cup victory. That's got to be the bare minimum. The team's made a lot of signings, but the one place you cannot have a risk is at striker. And right now, we believe Chiefs need another striker. We've given you the long list. Let us know what you think.